My name is Monica Kamandur. This video is the recording of a PAM remote advice coaching for the Kousba municipality in North Lebanon. The topic is vermicomposting for small farmers in order for them to use the organic waste of their farm for the benefit of the soil. The coaching consists of weekly video conferences in August and September 2024. This is part 6, it's part 6, vermicomposting in a tumbler, and this is the last episode in this part, collective action. In the previous episode, we have seen that vermicomposting is labor and attention demanding, and therefore it can be expected that not all farmers have the opportunity to do it. Although on the other hand, some farmers may be able to make it an extra business as a side business on their farm. So here maybe this challenges for exploring the options for making a neighborhood collective. And let's explore that a bit further. It is another line of thinking, because so far the focus of the video conferences were all about individual solutions for small farmers. Here we talk about a collective, and the suggestion is to discuss with the responsible people of the municipality and with the peer groups that I hope you already have about the construction of a collective center where excessive brown materials can be stored, where hygienic pre-compost can be delivered for transformation into vermicompost, where vermiculture can be processed in beds, where the vermicompost can be stored and sold, and where litter worms may be sold as well. In order to create this collective center, the adherent farmers and kitchen garden owners, etc., should agree on the conditions for delivering the hygienic materials. I propose they should be chopped and sieved in advance. For example, an average size of less than 2 by 2 centimeters and no materials more than 5. You can also discuss about the range of acceptable carbon-nitrogen ratios for delivering materials. And very importantly, the hygiene standards for delivering materials should be met, including for manure. There are two options for hygienization. One is the option with a tumbler, but there should be a minimum ripening of 72 hours at more than 55 degrees after you stopped filling the tumbler compartment. The other option is a machine hygienization, and as far as I know, there are only machines for meeting the biogas requirements, although you can use that hygienization also for composting. This is about a temperature of more than 70 degrees for at least 1 hour, and most machines take a few hours for it. Of course, one of the conditions should be that the material should be clean of any inorganic pollution like plastics and metals. And you should discuss to what extent you want to continue producing vermicompost in winter. And discuss the alternatives, of course. About a collective center, you can discuss what type of barn and equipment you want. For example, very useful are beds that can be lifted up so you can work in the beds at a convenient level, and the vermicompost can drop underneath where you can harvest it. Let me talk about the advantages of a collective center. You can use industrial equipment for the application in the vermicomposting. You can standardize the procedures and the circumstances for production. You can offer training and professionalization for the staff, and you may employ even people for the job. And the vermicast product can be predictable in qualities and availability for the sales. Disadvantages, however, we talked about small farmers not having time and the labor and the attention for doing it themselves, but the collectivization always comes with overhead discussions and debates, and that might be quite time consuming as well. In the collectivization, member discipline should be met in supplying hygienic pre-compost. And I want to notice that the activity is based on what they call in economic terms externalized costs. And that may not all be profitable. Grants to support investments in equipment might be indispensable. Now here I'm going to make another step, because now we go far beyond the topic, but because I know that there are so many confusions about the economy of waste, I want to spend some time discussing the economy of waste. The economy of waste is not following the normal rules of economy. Waste recycling costs are basically externalized costs. This means that those costs are not charged on the value of the principal sales product. Your principal sales products are your farm products, and the price of those products will not get higher when you invest in waste recycling. That's why it's called externalized cost. And so for externalized costs, the returns on recycling investments may be poor. So who should pay for these externalized cost investments? Why and how? I can almost predict that you will not get, for example, any bank loans, because the returns may be too poor. So here is a societal issue involved. To what extent is grant funding appropriate? And is it possible for the government to grant the funding? Anyway, if you can find the financial resources for the investments, if you are able to overcome this problem, then after that, the waste recycling management can often be cost effective. If properly managed and executed in a sound business plan, the recycling activity itself may then be profitable to sustain. So after the problem of investments has been overcome, the activity itself may be profitable, and therefore it is very interested to pay more attention to it. Now you may say, hey, but there are commercial vermiculture businesses. They are there, even in our country, although there are not many, they are there. And so what is the difference? And here I want to explain what the difference is in styles of business practices between a waste recycling business versus a commercial vermiculture business. In a waste recycling business, it is a side activity of a different main activity. And in this case, this is farming. And even though if you organize a collective, an association or whatever, it remains a side activity. Whereas for a commercial vermiculture business, that business has the worm business itself as its prime activity. That is different. If you talk about waste recycling, the goal is compost production effectiveness. That means that you are not looking for efficiency, you just want the compost to be ready when you need it. Whereas in a commercial vermiculture business, the goal is the proliferation efficiency of the worms. The worms need to produce cocoons, young worms, and most of all, their castings for the worm compost. And they need to do it as efficient as possible. In a waste recycling business, the focus is on optimizing the use of any organic waste materials at hand. And at hand means the adherent farmers and kitchen waste owners together in their association or union, they have a problem with their organic waste and that should be used. Whereas if you are a commercial vermiculture business, you want to optimize the feedstuff and food conditions for the worms. And if you can find any waste materials that you think is appropriate as a feedstuff in the next village or from somewhere further, and you can find it cheaper, why not buy it over there? There is no restriction for you to do that. Okay, and when we go back to waste recycling, in waste recycling you want to economize equipment and labor and attention investment. So if there is a cheaper alternative, you go for that because all you want to do is recycle waste. Whereas if you have a commercial vermiculture business, you want to economize labor efficiency and a financial investment returns. That is a different focus. You want it all to be efficient, and if an innovation is there on the market and you have calculated in your account that it might be efficient for you to invest, then you do so. Okay, and finally, waste recycling is focused on cost-effective recycling results. This is different from a commercial vermiculture business who is interested in returns on investments and making profits. So it's a very different business and they can exist side by side, but the needs for the one are different from the needs from the other. And this may give competition, and if you don't want the waste recycling business to lose, you want a different plan. So the question raised now is, can you combine these styles of practices in one conjoined business, in a public-private business plan or business union? And the answer is yes, it is possible. There are possibilities for a public, collective, private partnership within one business plan or business unit. However, if you want to do that, societal constructions are needed for the public collective interests. There are two societal constructions needed. On both, there is an association or a union with farmers and kitchen waste owners as members, and on the other hand, there is a non-profit service society or for foundation required for the taking care of the excessive value of the public properties. Okay, so this may result in a two-pairs interest model. I will discuss this a bit further. First, about the involvements. So there is a societal involvement for granting the investments in the equipment. That is necessary as a compensation for the poor perspectives of the returns on investments for the waste recycling. And the interesting parties are here the public, meaning the government, because the government will offer grants, money for this investment, and on the other hand, the non-profit organization that is demanding for maintaining the excess value of the public properties and the environment. Also, there is societal involvement for directing the organic waste materials at hand. Here, because you want to a recycling solution for a local problem or a wider area problem, but anyway the problem over here and not the problem that is further away where they may offer it cheaper. So here also there are two interested parties. There is the association or union who is offering the waste to the business plant, and the private business itself, the business activity, with a demand for good foodstuff for the worms. I know this is difficult stuff, and I do not know how to make it easier, but I hope I can make it a bit easier to put it in this table. I put it a table partnership in a contract bridge of two pairs models of interest. I don't know whether you know the game of contract bridge or bridge. It is known worldwide, and the details you can look up in Wikipedia. I do not know the game personally, but I know something about it. And that is that the game of bridge is played in two pairs. One pair is north-south, and the other pair is east-west. And the pairs make bridges of offers and demands. And that is the model that I use over here. I said here that the north-south, those are the stakeholders. All stakeholders are the north. So the government administration is representing all stakeholders, and they advocate the balanced stakeholder interest of all relevant public stakeholders and their rightful demands for sustainable perspectives. Whereas the South are the unified problem owners at challenge. So those are the specific stakeholders. Here you have the association or union who is advocating the stakeholder interest of the adherent farmers and kitchen garden owners and all the other adherents as the problem owners, because they have waste materials and side products and they want to do that something is done with it. And they demand for useful supplies in return in terms of compost, vermicompost, and or litterworms. Okay, east and west are the property owners. This is about property. On the east side, you see the public property and the area access value, because I know you live in beautiful hills and you want and you have beautiful villages and you want to maintain that. So, and in this case, you need a subsidiary non-profit service society of a foundation who is representing the need for the reintegration externalized costs and for reintegrating the externalized cost of the local or wider food, agriculture and kitchen garden sector for the sake of protecting and improving the excess values of the local or wider area at stake. Here in this organization, you have experts attached, or experts are hired. Those experts know about the excess value of the area, and they know something about the market for the buildings and the equipments for in the processing the waste, which is in this case for the vermiculture. Okay, and on the west side, there is the private property at stake, the business value. So there you have the business director or the manager at stake, or if there are multiple businesses in your area in the same branch, then there is a joint of local or wider private business managers in the waste materials and side product processing industry, and they are representing the private business values and including their equipment, current assets and human resources, and their desire to work efficiently with all the materials that they have. Okay, I hope this makes it a bit clearer. I understand this is very complicated, but I want to say this is beyond the demand for my expert involvement over here. What I suggest is that you find a social scientist or a scientist in humanities who may help you in the process to establish all these organizations and make sure that the partnership in a contract bridge of two pairs model will work in reality. But that is a long process and it's beyond this conference. So here, and here I do not have a slide saying keep record notes, because there are no individual records to note. But I did want to put a slide about making records. I suggest that always you choose a chairman or chairwoman, I mean, what's in a name, for all formal and informal meetings, and a secretary for making minutes. Dates for meetings offline and online are recorded, as well as the names of the participants, the themes on the agenda, the lines of discussion and the conclusions, the decisions that are made, and don't forget the cost allocations. Where is the money coming from for doing what we are doing in the meetings, etc. And the follow-up agreements. Who is doing what, when and where, and when will we meet again? Okay. Now for the summary. We here have explored what is necessary for a collective action. The situation is that indoor vermiculture may be too labor and space requiring for many individual farmers. And the consideration is to make a collective solution for cost-effective commercialization. There is a single option, simply neighborhood collectives supported by grants for investments in equipment. So there is a two-party thing going on. There is a collective planted at one of the farmers in the village, and the government is supporting. The classical option, however, for more than 100 years in our country, is creating a specific cooperative center where you can have professionals at work. So there is a cooperative center of adherent members for processing in larger quantities. So here there is a triple helix model for the division of power. There is the public administration, there is a farmers association, and there is a cooperative business unit where people have jobs and are professionalized to do the job. However, there is an advanced option, which I explained, of a two-paired bridge partnership. There is north-south, where the public and specific stakeholder value interests are represented, and there is east-west, where property and wider local or wider access value interests are represented. Okay, so far for this conference for today, here are the references that I used for today. My own work is still in progress. If you have any questions, please send me an email and we come back to it in the next video conference. Thank you very much.